Greetings, it is I, the Knight of Wrath. For today's topic I'm gonna talk about my Stormcast-Eternals, the Hallowed Knights. The Faithful, the Silver Saviors, the Soul Guardians, the Hallowed Knights are holy crusaders all. Their inner strength and purity of spirit is legendary. They fervently believe in Sigmar's supremacy and pray to him day and night for the strength to smite his enemies. They were made to suffer the woes of each of the worlds and to overcome them. The Hallowed Knights are a storm host of the Stormcast-Eternals, wearing silver Sigmarite armors. They are so pure of spirit that the magic of chaos has little effect on them. The Hallowed Knights joined Sylvanid forces against the Nurgle armies in the realm of Giran. Zealous beyond measure, loyal beyond question, the Hallowed Knights are driven to fight with unrelenting fervor. They consider the war against chaos to be a sacred quest for which no sacrifice is too great. The Hallowed Knights were the fourth storm host to be founded and have a strong religious culture, valuing prayer, ritual and hymns of praise so highly that even Sigmar himself has expressed unease at the intensity of their worship for him. The first canticle of their kindred, much is demanded of those to whom much is given, guides them in all that they do, for they do not take the privilege of Sigmar's strength lightly. Now, here you can see some of my work in progress. So, to paint the coat, I used as a base paint Screamer Pink, afterwards a shade of Druchii Violet to make it more darker, and then a highlight of Cacophony Purple. And as you can see, it came out quite nicely. For the scapula of the Hallowed Knight, I first base coated it with dried bark. When the dry bark was dried, I went over all the pieces again with Beyblade Brown. When that was dried, I used a Citadel shade, namely Agrisk Earthshade, so that it would actually make recesses pop out far better. When that was dried, I highlighted it again with Beyblade Brown, and then with a top highlight of Raycard Flesh. Shoulder pads of the Hallowed Knights I used for the inside Cantor Blue as a base coat, with then a highlight of Eloitic Blue, then a top highlight of Andrisen Grey. For the ornamental border of the shoulder pad I used as a base coat Retributor Armor, with over that Balthasar Gold, and then for the highlight for the trim I used Runefang Steel. Then for the main body I used as a base coat Lead Belcher, or if some people have the old paint, it was actually called Boltgun Metal. Then I went over it with a shade, Nuln Oil. Then I went over again with a little highlight of Lead Belcher and a little highlight of Runefang Steel to make it more shine. For the bases for my Hallowed Knights I wanted to go for a more gothic autumn feel. To create my bases I used Vallejo earth texture and also some clay to actually sculpt my gothic stone tiles. When finished I base coated it with my black primer and then painted over it with dried bark, as you can see. To paint the gothic tiles on the bases I started with Mechanica Standard Grey as a base coat, then used a shade, Null Oil, to make it more darker. Then I started to highlight with Dawn Stone, and then for the edges of the corners I used Administratum Grey to make it more pop out. For the leaves on the pre-sculpted bases I used as a base coat Scrag Brown, then went over it with a shade, namely Agrisk Earthshade. Then again I highlighted the leaves again with Scrag Brown and then did a top highlight of Fire Dragon Bright to bring out more the autumn feel. Beside the pre-sculpted leaves on the bases I also used dried berry leaves that I found at the station while going to work, so that it would actually create a mixed type of foliage. As you all can see, the results are there. I have to say, I'm very pleased how they came out. The Stormcast you see here before you are actually a test, an experiment to see how well I can actually paint the Hallowed Knights before I actually start with the Soul Wars box. Also, next to painting, I also try to read some books. Books can give you sometimes a better insight about a particular thing you are interested in. Like for example this, Warhammer Age of Sigmar Oaths and Conquests. A very fascinating book. This book is actually an anthology that includes 13 tales concerning the oaths of the righteous and the conquests of the damned. It is written by William King, David Guymer, Anna Stevens, Evan Dicken, Dale Lucas, and many more. I really recommend to read this. It's very interesting. I hope you enjoyed watching this video about my work in progress of my Stormcast Eternals, the Hallowed Knights. If you did, maybe give a like to this video. And maybe, if you want, you can subscribe to our channel if you want to see more of these videos. So yeah, this is the end. I'll see you next time in another video. Farewell, traveler.